the ability to live from the income of your personal resources. Meaning, at that point, you wouldn't have to work, that is, to make a living, or work to earn money, because now you have enough income from your personal resources. You would then simply work for accomplishment, you would work for pleasure, you would work for joy, you would work for whatever. But from that point on, once you became financially independent, you wouldn't have to work anymore in terms of supporting yourself, in terms of like making a living. That you can become someday financially independent and live from the income of your personal resources. Now, here's the next question. How do you wish to live? There's a difference between modestly and extravagantly. If you wish to live extravagantly from the income of your personal resources, you'd have to have a lot more personal resource. But if you wanted to live modestly, and if that life would suit you, modest in terms of what it would require to, support your daily living, if that was fairly modest, not the ambition of your goals, but modest in terms of the money you would require to live comfortably, it doesn't take that much personal resources. I mean, it doesn't take $100 million, it doesn't take $50 million, it doesn't take, you could live fairly well on $120,000 a year even after paying taxes. But it depends on how you wish to live. It depends on your own personal lifestyle. Now, if you need a mansion in every major city in the world, it's going to take more personal resources, right? But to be free of anybody to have financial claim on you, and to be free to live in a fairly easy manner, all you need is a certain amount of personal resources to be able to live from the income of those resources. Here's what we call that, whatever those dimensions are, financial independence. Now, here's one more exciting thing beyond that to be exciting, and that is debt-free. To where no one has a claim on your personal resources. Economics is major. Putting together your economic plan. My mentor asked me for my financial plan when I was 25. Of course I didn't have one. Just like a list of goals I didn't have. But a financial plan. Now here's what's important. My mentor said it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. Because I offered him the excuse. I said, if I had more money, I'd have a better plan. He said, no, if you had a better plan, you'd have more money. I'd been working 6 years, and once in a while now the creditors were calling. See, after 6 years, he suggested to me after 6 years of economic activity, I should be at least 1/3 of the way to building a financial wall around my family nothing could get through. And how far away was I from being 1/3 of the way? Like 1,000,000 miles. And the key is to not just live in the right country, but to have the right plan. So it's the plan that counts. Now here's what you do. You start with some plan and then refine it as you go. Or you refine it as your needs require, or you refine it as your dreams require. It just depends on what you want, how you want your life to unfold. But now, financial independence, being able to live from the income of your personal resources, that's a goal everybody should set. Now, if you're a little late coming to this plan, you might have to, do a little more stretching than the average person would. Now, the reason why the money all disappears is not because it doesn't exist, it's because the money isn't put in the right plan. So now let's talk about a few other things. One is, some people have to wrestle with, and I had a few questions on, is it okay to strive to be rich? Is it okay to want to be wealthy? Is it okay to go for it? I had to come to grips with that. Some people say, well, it'd be better to renounce all worldly goods and just live a very poverty, spiritual life. And that's one concept. I've got another concept. Try this on for size. If you could do better, should you? That's an interesting concept to consider. Why would you leave the biggest share of your life unexplored in terms of personal development and what that might have achieved, either in the marketplace or at home as a father? Someone says, I'm not going for being rich. I don't think that's really the healthy thing to do. So everybody has to wrestle with that. And I understand that. But I think one conclusion we could come to, with a good, simple, practical plan, there's no reason why you can't accumulate the resources to be financially independent. So now let's talk about it. Here's how Schoaf introduced me to the concept. One is to develop a current financial statement. Now this is primarily going to be a current financial statement of your finances, your money. Now money is not the only value, but make this note, it is one value. It's not the only one, but it is one. Money is not the only measure of success, but it is one measure. It's not the only one, but it is one. That your current income is a measure of your personal value to the marketplace. If your current value to the marketplace is $5 an hour, you get the $5. So, not that a person is only worth $5, but their value to the marketplace is only worth $5. But it's possible to very quickly change those numbers by changing your value. But the numbers do illustrate the value. We cannot leave that concept out. So somebody says, you mean where I am financially is an illustration of who I am? And the answer is yes. Now, it's not the only measure. I'm not saying it's the only one, but I'm saying it is one. There's a lot of other ways to measure a person's value as a father, a person's value as a mother, a person's value as a friend, as a colleague. But we can't leave the money out. Now, here's why money is an easy measure. It's easy to count. Say, how are you doing? Well, there's a lot of, things we could throw out there about how you're doing, how you're doing. And when we say financially, that's easy. Let's count. So my mentor said, let's come up with a financial statement. I said back then, what is a financial statement? I didn't know. So here's what he said. You take a piece of paper, draw a line down the center. Over here, you list all of your assets. Everything you can think of that you have that's got value. And then we add this up, the total. Whatever you've got. Your bicycle, whatever you got. Put it on here, put some value on it. That's the total of your assets. Now over here's your liabilities. Here's what you owe. And you make this list. So I started putting this together. I said, well, if I do this, it's not going to look that good. He says, it doesn't matter how it looks. It matters whether or not you do it. He said, let's take a picture of where you are currently. As bad as it may be, or as good as it may be, let's take a picture after 6 years. And these are called what? The facts. So I thought, well, okay. He said, you don't have to publish this in the paper. This is just for you. So I started putting my liabilities, my parents that I'd borrowed money from, budget finance, the whole bit. Now assets. Now I am embarrassed. I even put my shoes on here. Salvation Army give you what, $4 for your shoes. Can you imagine the trauma I went through now putting together my first financial statement after 6 years? And he said, if you would have taken this picture much earlier, you probably would have done something about it. So this is what you must affirm now. This is the truth. This is where you are. This is not everything in your life, but this is where you are financially. So then he said, we subtract assets, liabilities from assets, and we come up with current net worth. Now, it's not your total net worth now, I keep emphasizing. It's your net worth financially. And you can imagine my picture did not look very good. Now, here's what he said. Let's start changing this picture. And the change you want in the picture is what? For the asset values to start going up and these numbers to start coming down. And that starts increasing your net worth. Guess how quickly you can do this? Almost immediately. And he said, you cannot believe the excitement of almost daily changing your net worth. Daily change your net worth. Number one, your self-esteem starts to go like this. It's unbelievable. You've got to do this now. Put together your own current net worth, whatever the picture is. Don't need to show it to anybody. It's just for you and your information. Now let's come to what I teach kids. What should a child do with $1? Where do you suppose someone's financial journey begins? A child with $1. That's where it starts. Now, what road is this child with $1 going to go down? It all depends. It depends on what they've been taught. It depends on what they've been taught, the disciplines of developing a plan for the future. It all depends which road this child chooses. And one of the great illustrations of choosing the wrong road is doing the wrong things with the early resources. Well, what if this child spends the whole $1? Let me give you a clue. That is the wrong road. You say, well, it's only a child and it's only $1. No. And if a child has $1, however he earned it, however he got it, You've got to say to the child, now don't spend the whole dollar. They'll say, why not? It's my dollar. I said, I know it's your dollar. I earned it. I know you earned it, but you can't spend the whole dollar. They'll say, why not? So you take them to the other side of town and show them where people live that spend the whole dollar. And you just drive them around and say, would you like to live here? Kid says, no. Say, would you like to live like these people live? Kid says, no. Then you can't spend the whole dollar. I'm telling you, they will get the message. It only takes one visit. Now, if you already live there, just show them around. Good time for confession. Don't do what I did, wind up on this side of town. Let me show you a plan, my son, how to get to the other side of town. See, there's nothing better than the truth. You don't need to fool with the truth. It is so dynamic in uncovering the errors of our ways and helping us to set up new disciplines to change it all, starting today, starting overnight, starting anytime. Now, you could wait to start a plan for a couple of years, but why not do it now? So what should a child do with the dollars? Here's what I teach. Never spend more than 70 cents. Somebody says, why? Well, to make it easy, just take my word for it. Don't spend more than 70 cents. You got to pick some number. When I met Shof on every dollar, I was spending about 110%. And here's what I learned. If your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. I found that back then it was easy to make $4,000 a month and go broke. Somebody says, how could you make $4,000 a month and go broke? It's easy. Spend $5,000. And if you spend $5,000, it's what? Inevitable. That's a good word, inevitable. Sometimes it's inevitable. Don't spend more than 70 cents out of each dollar. They say, okay, I got that now. What do I do with the other 30 cents? I'm glad you asked. Here's what you do. 10 cents for charity, helping people who can't help themselves, supporting worthy causes. The time to teach kids generosity is early. So 10 cents for charity. Now, here's another 10 cents called active capital, meaning put your money to work. Capitalism. And kids can learn to buy and sell. My old illustration way back on the old tapes was buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3. Who can do that? Any kid can do that. Go next door, knock on the door. Ms. Jones, my mama uses this soap. I think you'll find it real interesting. It's only $3 a bottle. She says, well, Johnny, I've already got plenty of soap. He says, you better let me come in and check. Kids don't need a class on sale. They're born to sell. Now, when a child collects $3 and sells this bottle of soap, what should they do? You got to teach them not to spend the whole $3. See, some adults don't know that. Kid says, well, yeah, if you spent the whole $3, you'd be out of business. You got to save back the $2. You've only got $1 now. The $2 have got to go get you another bottle of soap. So it's easy to teach these little principles. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. Anything to generate a profit, render a service, whatever it is, something simple and easy. Active capital means you are involved. Now, here's the last 10 cents called passive capital, meaning let someone else use your money. Let a financial institution use your money. Some projects require more money than one person can put up. So we have what we call collective pools of money, where you put up some, I put up some, someone else put up some, and we loan it out. And here's what they pay us for using our money. They pay us interest and dividends and increase in stock value. This is the potential here. But now, if you follow this starting at age 15 and allocate the dollar this way, rather than having no plan at all, it's easy to become financially independent by the time you're 35, at the latest 40. Do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different, like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. If you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances, since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. Then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much Sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. Shoaff said, here's the secret, Mr. Rohn. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. If you would have known me at age 25, you would have said, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. If you'd have known me, you'd have said that. I'm the guy, I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late, I don't mind that. You'd have said, well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. You say, well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket and nothing in the bank and behind on his promises? Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you'll learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, I'll give you tonight to think it over. And start this whole process of personal development, work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income, and economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work hard on yourself and develop the skills. Work hard on yourself and develop the graces. All of the stuff necessary to become more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, your whole life can explode into change. Promotions, no problem. Becoming more valuable to the company, I'm telling you, no problem. Money, no problem. Economics, no problem. Future, no problem. If you just go to work on the right thing. Not get things out there to change. Don't try to change the seed. Don't change the soil. Don't change the sunshine. Don't change the rain. Don't change the mix of seasons. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy. Work on your attitude. Work on your personality. Work on your language. Work on the gift of communication. Work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change for you. To Mr. Shoaff, over a 5-year period before he died at age 49, who taught me some extraordinarily simple things. He only went to the 9th grade in school. Never finished high school, never went to college, never went to university. So he put his ideas and his experiences in very simple language, which I think for me, kid from the farms of Idaho, that simplicity was so important. Because if it would have been technical, I'd have missed it. If it would have been mystic, I would have, backed away. But it was just basic, blunt, ABC, familiar stuff that I hadn't thought of before. And he did start to remind me, and those ideas changed me. Mr. Shoaff was the one when I said, this is all they pay. He said, you've been working 6 years, Mr. Rohn, how come you're not doing better? And I said, this is all the company pays. He says, well, that's not true. I said, no, this is my paycheck. This is all the company pays. He said, no, this is all the company pays you. I thought, that's a new way to look at it, right? He said, doesn't the company pay 2, 3, 4, 5 times this amount to other people? I said, well, yes. He said, well, then this is not all the company pays. It's all they pay you. And if you qualified, wouldn't your income grow 2, 3, 4, 5 times? I said, I suppose. So he said, we don't have to work on the company. We have to work on you. See, that was the beginning of what he called the phrase personal development. I told him things cost too much. He said, no, you can't afford them. I thought, well, that's a new concept. I hadn't thought about it. We put some of the valuable things on the high shelf, so you can't get to them until you qualify. If you want the things on the higher shelf, you've got to stand on the books you read. Every book you read, you get to stand a little higher so you can get the things on the higher shelf. See, I learned those concepts. It was so incredible. And here was the most important one. Success is something you attract by the person you become. See, that phrase changed my life. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue. It's like chasing a butterfly. You can't quite catch it. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person.
See, those were new concepts to me. I'm just working hard trying to make a living. Here's what he said to me. This changed my life. I got a chance to teach this in Moscow and across Russia. 3 visits, now the 4th. Here's what Shof taught me. Profits are better than wages. Nobody taught me that in high school. Nobody taught me that. I went to 1 year of college. Nobody taught me. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. And how could you work on both a living and a fortune? He said, well, you could start part-time working on your fortune while you're working full-time on your living. I thought, wow. Now he said it's fun to get up in the morning. Not just getting up, go to work to pay the rent, but to get up to go to work to make a fortune. First, to make a living for my family. Second, to make a fortune. And he taught me how to make both a living and a fortune. Guess what I did? I learned how to make both a living and a fortune. And I found out anybody could do it once they get the information. And at age 25, I started receiving this extraordinary information. Here's what he said. Your income is directly related to your philosophy, not to the economy. I thought, no one ever told me that. I kept hoping the economy would change. He said, no, your philosophy has to change. I assured him that I had my fingers crossed. He said, that won't help. Then what could I do to change my income and multiply it by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10, and then multiply it by 10 again? What could I do? And he started giving me the disciplines and the process of learning the skills to change my life. This was an extraordinary man. Those were extraordinary times for me. Life-changing in every manner that you can imagine, but very simple ABC concepts. Here's what I learned. Not to search for the exotic until you've discovered the basic.
Here's the next one. Decision. And decision-making is powerful. And it's emotional. That's those knots in the pit of your stomach, right? Waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, trying to decide. We sometimes call it inner civil war. What shall I do? Well, for progress, you must decide. The best advice I can give you came from a wealthy friend of mine who said, if it's easy, do it easy. If it's hard, do it hard. Just get it done. If you went home tonight and in the next few days cleaned up a whole list of decisions, that might furnish enough inspiration for the next 10 years. I found this out many times after you've decided. Getting on with it is easier than deciding. Sometimes decision is the toughest part. Here's the next emotion, desire, wanting to bad enough. And I don't know how to tell you to want to. That's something you've got to come up with. There's 2 things I know about desire. Number 1, it comes from inside, not outside. You don't send off for it. Number 2, I know desire can be triggered by something. Who knows what it might be? Sometimes desire waits and sleeps for something to happen. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a song, maybe it's a sermon, maybe it's a lecture, a seminar, maybe it's the conversation of a friend, a happening, an event. Who knows? The best advice I can give you is what I give my staff. It goes like this: welcome every human experience. You never know which one is going to turn it all on. Even the bad experiences. Sometimes from the bitterest experience comes the greatest awakening. So let down the barriers, take down the walls. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Let life touch you. Don't let it kill you, but let it touch you. When you work, work. When you play, play. Don't mix the two. Don't play at work. Here's why. Work is too serious. Guess what economics is? Serious business. Because you're trading part of your life for being economically sustained and providing protection for you and your family for generations to come. There's the one place you don't horse around, fool around. It's at work. You know, somewhere else, yes. At work, no. Just establish that reputation, is that you don't fool around at work. You just don't play around at work. You got to consider work like the farmer in the spring. He's only got a short season. This isn't play time. This is work time. Get everything right in the short season we got. This is no time to joke around, play around. Develop that reputation for your own self-esteem that says when you work, you work. Why would the farmer put the plow in the ground in the spring if he couldn't see the vision of the harvest when the summer is finished? Is it possible to see the finished harvest? And the answer is yes. We do that simply by faith. Key phrase, faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. And that's how things exist. How did this hotel get here? Someone saw it while the property was vacant. You say, well, is it possible to see this hotel when it isn't here? And the answer is yes, of course. If somebody cannot see it when it is not here, then it will never be here. So it's possible to see things that don't yet exist. Interesting. When should you start building this hotel? This is a good question for your philosophical musings. When should we start building the house? When should we start? And here's the answer. As soon as it's finished. You wouldn't start building the house until you had it finished. If you just started laying bricks and somebody came around and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just laying bricks. And said, what are you building? And you said, I have no idea. See, they'll take you away to a safe place. So have you got that now? It's possible to finish something before you start. In fact, it would be a bit foolish to start until you had it finished. So human beings have this remarkable ability to finish something and then start. We've heard the old expression, don't count your chickens until they're hatched. Say, no, we have the ability to count our chickens long before they're hatched. Because we know, we have faith, we believe. We use the law of averages as there's bound to be at least so many. Out of every dozen, out of every 100, out of every 50. So it's possible to see the end, then begin. Start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there, see yourself in possession of. I was in business with Bob Cummings, the old movie star, for a while. He said, decide what you want and then act as if you already had it. And being an actor, he could give us a few tips on acting. Decide what you want and act as if it was already yours. Now, the reason we can act thinking that it's already ours is because not only can we vision the end results, we can also vision the beginning of making it real. So we don't start till it's finished, but it is possible for human beings to finish something before they start.